Hello, bonjour, and good day, and welcome to the House of Freeman. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I block my brows for drag. For this, you are going to need a handful of products. I use a glue stick, a toothbrush, a color corrector, some concealer, some loose setting powder, and some white pressed powder. So without any further ado, let's show you how I do it. To start off with, you will need a completely clear base. I have used a face wash and I've put some serum on my skin for a little bit of primer, and now we can go in with the glue stick. I use this make. You can get this in the UK on Amazon, I believe. I will leave a link in the description. So to start off with, I just place this onto the brow and I just start moving it around. We want to go against and with the grain of the hair to make sure that all of your brow is completely saturated in glue the first time around. So now the brow is completely saturated, I just grab any old toothbrush and I use this to lay the hairs flat on the face. For my brows, I go with the way that the hair grows. I don't push it up and spread it out because normally for me, that doesn't really work very well, but it depends. If you've got more prominent brows, then I would suggest combing them up and spreading them out so they lay flatter against the skin. So just do this as many times as you need to get the hair flat against the face. To double check that everything is flat, I just like to take a hand mirror and look sideways on to my brow, and you can see if everything is laying completely flat. For me, that looks perfect. So just as an extra precaution, I take the other side of the brush, the tongue scraper part, and I just gently apply some pressure and push the brow hairs against the skin. Cool. Now that you've done that, you can grab some more glue and just go over your work in the direction that you have laid the brows. You're going to want to repeat that step maybe 3 to 4 times, depending on how thick your brows are. Normally for me, about 3 layers is completely fine. You're going to want to wait until the glue is dry in between each step before adding the next layer of glue. So just grab your fan and make sure that the glue is dry. I'll see you when I've added all the layers. For this part, I thought I'd zoom you in. When I'm covering my brows, this may differ to other people's tutorials. I take the glue along the brow itself, as you would normally do, but then I also take it above the brow because I'm going to be drawing my eyebrows from here and then up over my natural brow. If I lay down a base of glue above the eyebrow, then it kind of acts as a primer, and some of the shadows that I use, like purples, reds, pinks, they could stain the skin. And if you're adding this layer, then you're giving something for the powder to adhere to and give it a nice protective base against your skin, hopefully stopping the staining on the skin itself. We are going to add primers, etc., but that's just what I do to make sure that I don't go around with purple or pink staining above my eyebrows because I recently did that and somebody was like, "Are you okay?" It was a bit too much, but anyway, let me do a couple more layers and I'll come back. Okay, when you get to the last layer of glue, I like to wet the glue stick. Don't do that at home, that's my disclaimer. and I like to just go over the top of everything that I've laid down. So the moisture that you're putting on will act as a kind of dissolving agent for any of the glue that's just a little bit thick on the end, and it will help it blend a little bit easier with the rest of the skin. So if you've got any bobbles up here where the glue is just kind of collecting, you can take this and gently go over it, and that should lessen how prominent those bobbles are. So now we've finished with the glue, we have not let that last layer set. That is quite important. We are going to take some of our white pressed powder that we've got here, and I'm just going to take a powder puff, and I'm just going to saturate that powder puff with the powder. Make sure you've got so much of this pressed powder on there, as you can see. And then with a very, very light hand, we are just going to gently tap over the top, because remember, your glue is still wet on this layer. And the reason you want to keep it wet is so that it attracts all of this powder, gets as much as it can to stay on the areas that you have laid glue down. Remember to put a layer of powder above the brow as well, where you've added some of the glue, because this will ensure that you've got a nice white base for your eyeshadows to really pop against. And hopefully it will act as a barrier for that staining that might come from the purples, pinks, reds, etc. Okay, this brow is covered. Let's grab a fluffy brush and take off the excess powder. For everywhere that you had the wet glue, it should just keep the powder in that area. If you have any areas like this that are a little bit bobbly, you can go over the top of that with some more glue stick. You do need to be quite careful because you don't want to disturb it that much, but you can always go over the top again and then repeat the same step. Make sure that it's a wet layer for the last layer, and then add more powder over the top. When you're doing this, make sure you're doing it very gently as to not disturb the products that you've actually placed down that need to adhere to your face. For the next step, you can grab some color corrector. I have this e.l.f. one in this salmon color, and you can just go right over the top of the powder. This one's got a really nice kind of paddle design, so I can just draw directly over my eyebrow, like so. We're going to want to let this kind of marinate into the skin for a little bit, just so that it sinks in. And then we will take a sponge that we have. I have these Real Techniques kind of 2-in-1 powder and cream sponge things, and I'm just gently gonna tap on top just to remove the excess moisture, just like that. And then if you think that you need a little bit more color corrector, because you can see the brow popping through, just apply another layer. And hopefully that should cancel everything out for you. Again, for every layer of color corrector that you put over the top, make sure you let it marinate for maybe 10 to 15 seconds and then go in and just gently tap over the top, just so that everything appears to be a lot drier. Perfect. Now that I've done that, I'm going to swap over my Real Techniques to the powder side, and I'm going to grab some translucent powder and very gently I'm going to collect some like we did with the white setting powder, and I'm just going to tap this over the top of the color corrector to seal that in so that it doesn't impact the color of the product that you're going to put over the top. I'm going to brush off any of the excess powder that I can see, just so that it doesn't grip onto any of the product and create some texture, because that's not what we're looking for. I'm then going to take my concealer. This is the e.l.f. Camo concealer, I believe. And this concealer, you do want to be quite light. Light in color, not light in application, because you do want it to actually cover some stuff. So just take this gently over the top. Make sure you cover every little bit of that brow. Perfect. And then you just want to take your beauty sponge and just buff that over the top. That's that concealer all blended out. Now, as an extra layer, just for what I do, I'm going to grab my white pressed powder again on the different puff that we used at the beginning and just set that concealer, just gently pushing this into the area. Then that gets the base completely ready for your eyebrows that you're going to apply. Dust off the excess powder with a fluffy brush. And there you have it. That is how I cover my eyebrows. So there you go. With a handful of products and just a little bit of time, we have covered this eyebrow and it's ready for the new brow, the eyeshadow, or whatever makeup look that you want to create. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like down below, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe because we have new videos coming all the time to this channel and I would like you to see them. That's it for today. Take care and stay tuned.